Medieval armies didn't just bring swords and shields to America, they brought dinner. These ancient vegetables are now choking out native plants across the US. But here's the twist. They're completely edible and probably growing in your backyard right now. Which invasive medieval vegetable is so delicious that top chefs pay premium prices for it? Look, I get it. Nobody wants dandelions on their perfectly manicured lawn. But here's the thing your gardener won't tell you. Those weeds you're desperately trying to kill are actually European aristocrats that crash-landed in America centuries ago. Medieval peasants knew what they were doing. While nobles feasted on fancy meats, common folks were munching on dandelion greens like they discovered nature's multivitamin, which, honestly, they had. These yellow troublemakers originally called Europe home, where smart people recognized their spring detox powers. One dandelion plant contains more vitamin A than a carrot, more vitamin C than spinach, and enough vitamin K to make your bones stronger than a medieval knight's armor. Not bad for something most people consider lawn enemy number one. But here's where it gets interesting. Dandelions don't play fair. Those fluffy seed heads, each one releases up to 200 seeds that float around like tiny paratroopers looking for new territory to conquer. Makes sense why they've invaded over 30 million acres of American lawns, right? The versatility is what really gets me, though. You can toss the young leaves in salads for a bitter kick, saute the older ones like spinach, or even brew the roots into a coffee substitute that won't keep you up all night. Medieval folks were basically running a full pharmacy and restaurant out of their backyards. Well, dandelions might be the poster child for edible invaders, but they're not the only European emigrant causing trouble in American gardens. Wait until you meet their cousin from the old country, one that literally smells like it's ready to fight vampires. European medieval cooks knew something we're just rediscovering. Garlic mustard wasn't just another green leaf cluttering up their gardens, it was dinner with attitude. This feisty little plant sailed across the Atlantic with early settlers who couldn't bear leaving their favorite flavoring behind. Smart move, right? Well, depends on who you ask. Their beloved herb had other plans once it hit American soil. Garlic mustard spreads faster than gossip at a church social. One plant can pump out thousands of seeds, and here's the kicker. Those seeds can lie dormant for 5 years before deciding to sprout. It's like nature's version of a time bomb. Except instead of exploding, it just takes over your entire woodland. But here's what those frustrated gardeners don't realize. They're pulling up liquid gold. This invasive powerhouse packs more vitamin C than most store-bought greens. The leaves deliver a garlicky punch that'll make your taste. Buds do a little dance. Medieval peasants turned these leaves into everything from soup seasoning to wound dressing. They'd crush the leaves for pesto centuries before Italians made it trendy. The young leaves work beautifully in salads, while the older ones need a quick sauté to tame their bite. Spring hunters know the secret: harvest the tender shoots before they flower. That's when the flavor hits that sweet spot between garlic and mustard without the bitter aftertaste that develops later. Want the ultimate irony? We spend millions trying to control this plant while importing expensive microgreens that don't pack half the nutritional punch. Speaking of plants that medieval folks couldn't live without, there's another rooty character that's been causing quite the stir in American gardens. Medieval cooks knew something we're just rediscovering. Burdock wasn't just another root vegetable cluttering up their pantries. It was their secret weapon against everything from joint pain to bad skin. Those ancient Europeans were onto something big. Here's the thing about burdock that'll make you chuckle. This plant is basically the clingy relative of the vegetable world. You know the type. Shows up uninvited, overstays their welcome, and you can't get rid of them no matter how hard you try. Except in this case, you actually want to keep them around. Burdock rolled into America like it owned the place. Now it's taken over roadsides, abandoned lots, and anywhere the soil's been disturbed. Smart cookie, really. It figured out that humans create the perfect conditions wherever they go. But here's where it gets interesting. Those annoying burrs that stick to your clothes like they're superglued. A Swiss engineer got so frustrated with them in 1941 that he invented Velcro. Talk about turning lemons into lemonade. The real treasure isn't the clingy seeds, though. It's hiding underground. Burdock root tastes like a cross between a carrot and a potato, with earthy undertones that make your taste buds do a little happy dance. Japanese cuisine has been celebrating it for centuries. They call it gobo and treat it like culinary gold. One plant produces up to 15,000 seeds annually. That's more offspring than a reality TV family. Each seed is equipped with tiny hooks designed by nature's own engineering department. Well, if burdock seems aggressive, wait until you meet our next medieval invader. This one doesn't just cling to your clothes, it fights back with actual weapons. Picture your great-grandmother's medicine cabinet, but instead of bottles, she had weeds growing right outside her door. Nettles were medieval Europe's multi-tool. They healed wounds, made fabric, and filled soup pots when times got tough. These green warriors sailed across the Atlantic, tucked away in immigrant luggage, probably hitching rides on wool clothing. Smart little devils. Once they hit American soil, they spread faster than gossip at a church social. Their underground roots creep sideways like sneaky teenagers, popping up everywhere you don't want them. But here's the kicker. What stings you can actually save you? Those needle-sharp hairs that make you dance the ouch, ouch, I touched a nettle jig? They're loaded with histamine and formic acid. Sounds scary, right? Well, cooking these bad boys transforms them into nutritional powerhouses packed with iron, calcium, and magnesium. It's like Clark Kent becoming Superman minus the cape. The secret is simple. Heat neutralizes their sting completely. Boil them for 2 minutes, and they become as harmless as overcooked spinach. Professional foragers harvest millions of pounds annually across America. That's enough nettles to make soup for half of Texas. My neighbor swears by nettle tea for his seasonal allergies. Says it works better than those fancy pharmacy pills that cost more than premium gas. The antihistamine properties that once attacked his skin now fight his sniffles from the inside. Makes sense, right? But remember, always wear thick gloves when harvesting. Those medieval peasants weren't tougher than us. They just knew which battles to pick. Speaking of picking battles, wait until you meet our next invader. A plant so enormous it makes nettles look like garden variety troublemakers. Giant hogweed makes dandelions look like garden party guests. This Caucasus mountain native arrived in medieval Europe and decided the United States needed some serious landscaping help. Well, nobody asked for its opinion. Standing up to 15 feet tall with flower heads spanning 2 feet across, hogweed doesn't believe in subtlety. It's like that neighbor who plays music too loud, except instead of disturbing your sleep, it disturbs entire ecosystems. One plant can produce 50,000 seeds annually. Talk about overachieving. But here's where things get interesting and slightly dangerous. Hogweed sap contains chemicals that cause severe burns when exposed to sunlight. Makes poison ivy look like a gentle massage therapist. However, beneath this intimidating exterior lies an edible treasure that medieval Europeans discovered centuries ago. The stems, when properly harvested and prepared, taste remarkably similar to asparagus mixed with parsnip. First rule of Hogweed Club, wear protective clothing. Second rule, cook it thoroughly. The key is peeling away the toxic outer layer and boiling the inner stem until tender. Medieval foragers knew this secret well. They'd harvest young shoots in early spring, treating them like nature's oversized asparagus spears. Smart folks, those medieval Europeans. They understood that sometimes the most intimidating plants hide the best flavors. Then there's the irony factor. Something so aggressive and potentially harmful transforms into a delicate, nutty-flavored vegetable after proper preparation. It's culinary alchemy at its finest. Hogweed proves that size matters in the invasive plant world, but it's not the only giant making waves in American landscapes. Some invaders prefer a completely different strategy altogether. Medieval monasteries turned grapevines into liquid gold for their communion wine. These crafty monks probably never imagined their precious vines would one day become America's green menace, strangling entire forests like an overzealous dinner guest who won't leave. Wild grapevines arrived in America through European settlers who brought their winemaking dreams with them. Smart move, right? Well, not exactly. These vines decided they loved their new home so much, they'd redecorate the entire landscape. Today, you'll find them wrapping around trees like nature's version of plastic wrap, except this stuff doesn't come off easily. Here's what makes these invaders particularly sneaky. They don't just produce grapes, though those wild ones pack more tartness than your average supermarket variety. The real treasure lies in those tender young leaves. Ever heard of dolmas? Those delicious Mediterranean parcels stuffed with rice and herbs? Yep, grape leaves make the wrapper. But here's the kicker. One wild grapevine can grow 60 feet long in a single season. That's like having a botanical python in your backyard that moonlights as a salad bar. The leaves taste best when they're young and tender, usually in late spring. Blanch them quickly in boiling water, and they become pliable enough to wrap around just about any filling your heart desires. Think of it as nature's edible gift wrap, except the recipient actually wants to eat the packaging. And the weird part is, while gardeners curse these vines for smothering their prized oak trees, foragers celebrate them as free Mediterranean cuisine growing wild in American woodlands. Speaking of plants that nobody invited, but everyone secretly enjoys. You know how your grandmother always said the most annoying weeds make the best medicine? Well, she wasn't kidding about Oxalis, also known as wood sorrel. This little troublemaker has been driving gardeners absolutely bonkers while secretly being one of nature's most refreshing treats. Medieval apothecaries treasured this stuff for its bright, lemony punch. They'd use it to treat everything from scurvy to upset stomachs. Smart folks, those medieval healers, they figured out what modern gardeners are still missing. Here's the kicker. While you're out there cursing these heart-shaped leaves spreading across your lawn like gossip at a church picnic, you're actually looking at a fantastic lemonade substitute. Those tender green leaves pack more vitamin C than you'd expect from something so small and persistent. But here's where it gets really annoying. Each Oxalis plant can pump out thousands of seeds every single year. Thousands. It's like nature's version of that relative who overstays their welcome and brings uninvited friends to dinner. The plant spreads faster than bad news in a small town. The beautiful irony? This pest tastes absolutely delicious. Toss a handful into your salad for a citrusy kick that'll make your taste buds do a little dance. Or brew it into a refreshing drink that beats any store-bought lemonade. Makes you wonder what other so-called weeds you've been yanking out of your garden without realizing their potential, right? Well, speaking of plants that'll make you question everything you thought you knew about garden invaders, picture ancient Romans munching on leaves that could supposedly boost their romantic prowess. Well, that's Arugula for you, the Mediterranean mystery that convinced emperors it was nature's love potion. Talk about marketing genius. These peppery little leaves weren't just peasant food. Nope. Roman aristocrats practically worshipped them at fancy dinner parties. Medieval nobles followed suit, turning arugula into the must-have green for anyone trying to impress their dinner guests. Kind of like today's truffle oil, but actually useful. Here's where things get interesting. Arugula didn't plan to invade America. It just happened. Those prolific seeds spread faster than gossip in a retirement home. One day, you plant a nice little arugula patch. Next thing you know, your entire backyard looks like a Roman conquest. The plant's basically unstoppable. It self-seeds with the determination of a door-to-door salesman. Each plant produces thousands of seeds annually, creating wild patches across fields and gardens nationwide. Farmers love it and hate it simultaneously. Great crop, terrible neighbor. But let's talk about flavor. This isn't your boring iceberg lettuce. Arugula packs a peppery punch that wakes up your taste buds like a caffeine shot. Rich in antioxidants, it actually helps your digestion while adding serious attitude to any salad. The Romans weren't completely wrong about its benefits, though they might have exaggerated the romantic effects. Modern science confirms arugula's loaded with vitamins and minerals that boost overall health. Just don't expect miracles in the romance department. Then there's fennel, another Mediterranean escapee that's been casting culinary spells across America with its magical anise flavor and surprising versatility. Medieval Italian kitchens practically worshipped fennel. Those ancient cooks knew something we're still figuring out today. This feathery herb didn't just season their food, it practically ran their medicine cabinets too. But here's where things get interesting. Fennel escaped those careful medieval gardens and decided America looked pretty tasty. Now it sprawls across our roadsides and meadows like it owns the place. And honestly, it kind of does. The stuff grows everywhere from California to the East Coast. One plant can pump out thousands of seeds, each one ready to start its own fennel empire. It's like having that relative who never leaves after Thanksgiving dinner. Except this one actually brings something useful to the table. Well, fennel's secret weapon isn't just its licorice-like flavor. The entire plant works overtime for your digestive system. Medieval monks weren't chewing fennel seeds after dinner just for fun. Those little powerhouses actually calm stomach troubles and reduce inflammation. Smart guys, those monks, Then there's the versatility factor. You can pickle the flowers, brew tea from the seeds, or slice up the bulb for salads. It's like nature's version of a Swiss Army knife, but with better taste. The ancient Romans thought fennel could improve eyesight and help warriors stay brave in battle. Whether that's true or not, it definitely makes your pasta sauce more interesting. Makes sense why this Mediterranean transplant conquered American soil so completely, right? But fennel isn't the only European immigrant that found creative ways to make itself indispensable while technically being unwanted. Wait until you discover what coffee-desperate colonists did with another bitter invader. Medieval European immigrants brought chicory to America thinking they discovered the perfect coffee replacement. Little did they know they were unleashing an agricultural conquistador with sky-blue flowers and zero respect for property lines. This hardy perennial doesn't just survive, it thrives everywhere from roadside ditches to abandoned lots. While your lawn struggles through summer heat, chicory stands there blooming like it's showing off. The plant's deep taproot can punch through concrete sidewalks, making it nature's version of a medieval battering ram. But here's where things get interesting. Those same roots that terrorize landscapers contain something called inulin, a prebiotic fiber that feeds the good bacteria in your gut. Medieval folks figured this out centuries ago, roasting chicory roots to brew a bitter drink that kept their digestive systems happier than a monk with a full wine cellar. The taste? Well, let's just say chicory coffee makes regular coffee seem like hot chocolate. It's bitter enough to wake the dead, which explains why it became popular during wartime rationing when actual coffee disappeared faster than free samples at Costco. You can harvest chicory year-round. Those spring leaves taste less like chewing on tree bark. The young greens work great in salads if you enjoy that slightly bitter kick. Think of it as nature's way of reminding you that not everything good for you tastes like candy. Over 100 varieties exist worldwide, each one perfectly adapted to invade whatever territory it encounters. From roots to leaves to those stubborn blue flowers, chicory offers more uses than a Swiss Army knife. Speaking of bitter flavors that somehow became beloved, medieval Italians knew a secret that modern Americans are just discovering. Radicchio wasn't just some fancy restaurant garnish. It was survival food that could keep families fed through harsh winters when other vegetables had long since rotted away. This crimson-leafed warrior made its way across the Atlantic in immigrant pockets, probably tucked between love letters and family recipes. Now, well, it's gone completely rogue in American gardens, popping up wherever it darn well pleases like an uninvited dinner guest who actually improves the party. Here's where things get interesting. That bitter bite everyone either loves or runs screaming from, that's pure medicine working. Radicchio packs more vitamin K than your grandmother's medicine cabinet, and it'll get your liver working better than a Swiss timepiece. Makes sense why medieval folks lived to tell so many tales, right? But let's talk about the real magic here. Those white veins threading through deep red leaves look exactly like illuminated manuscripts from medieval monasteries. Someone clearly had an artistic streak when designing this vegetable. It's almost too pretty to eat. Almost. The beauty of Radicchio lies in its stubborn versatility. Toss it raw in salads for that wake-up call crunch. Grill it until those edges caramelize like autumn leaves. Or roast it until it transforms from bitter warrior to sweet surrender. Each cooking method reveals a completely different personality, like meeting 3 different people in one vegetable. These days, you'll find wild Radicchio spreading through American gardens faster than gossip at a church social. It's basically nature's way of saying we need more bitter truth in our diets. Speaking of vegetables that refuse to stay put, there's one medieval root that makes Radicchio look downright tame. Meet wild parsnip, the medieval powerhouse that fed European armies before anyone knew potatoes existed. Back then, this cream-colored root was basically the carbohydrate king of the dinner table. Knights probably gnawed on these things between battles, and honestly, they picked a winner. Here's the thing about wild parsnip. It's tougher than your grandfather's old work boots. This plant survives winters that would make a polar bear complain, then pops back up in spring like nothing happened. That's the kind of resilience that helped it march across the Atlantic and colonize American roadsides faster than you can say, manifest destiny. But hold your horses before you start digging. Wild parsnip comes with a nasty surprise. Its sap can give you burns that'll make you look like you wrestled with a barbecue grill and lost. The sun makes it worse, turning a simple gardening session into a medical emergency. Always wear gloves and long sleeves when harvesting these medieval marvels. Once you've safely unearthed them, though, pure gold. Roasting wild parsnip transforms its starchy bite into something sweeter than a grandmother's compliment. The natural sugars caramelize beautifully, creating flavors that would make a carrot jealous. These roots pack more nutrition per bite than most vegetables in your grocery cart. And the weird part is how perfectly they complement modern cooking. Mash them like potatoes, roast them with herbs, or slice them thin for chips. Medieval peasants ate them because they had to. We eat them because they're absolutely delicious. Wild parsnip proves that sometimes the best ingredients are hiding in plain sight, waiting along forgotten roadsides like buried treasure from centuries past.